A lot can happen in a week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Vivian Ho, health economist at Rice University and Baylor College of Medicine, and Marco Roberts, chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum. Vivian, Marco, welcome to Houston Matters.
Glad to be here.
Hi, Craig.
Panel, the gun advocacy organization Texas Gun Rights has a new outreach director, and his name is Kyle Rittenhouse. Yes, the young man who ended up in the white-hot glare of the national spotlight in 2020 for shooting two men at a Black Lives Matter rally in Kenosha, Wisconsin, will advocate for Second Amendment rights with the organization. Rittenhouse, all of 17 at the time, had gone to that rally 4 years ago armed with an AR-15-style rifle. There, amid a protest of the shooting of 29-year-old Jacob Blake, Rittenhouse shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber and injured Gage Grosskreutz. Rittenhouse called it self-defense and was acquitted of all charges the following year. As the Houston Chronicle's Sha'Carri Briggs reported Tuesday, since then, Rittenhouse has been on the speaker circuit and launched an anti-gun control nonprofit. Kyle Rittenhouse has a new gig, outreach director for Texas Gun Rights. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Marco Roberts.
Well, I can't say that it motivates me very much one way or the other, but I don't see anything wrong with this. And so I'm going to say it's good because at least for some folks, it'll be good. I think some people are not going to like it. But if they don't, I'm just not going to think that there's any real reason why not to. Kyle Rittenhouse, he was thrown, like you said, into the national stage like some folks are. There's people who become famous not planning to do that, right? We can see, and sometimes it can be for heroic acts like Rosa Parks or just taking a strong stance like a Riley Gaines, and you're not expecting that, and then all of a sudden there you are in the glare of it. I think that for Kyle Rittenhouse, regardless of what people think, he certainly had a rough time of it at the beginning. He was in jail for about 3 months. If you see the video of him with his mother after he's been arrested, they're sobbing and they're obviously, very upset about what's going to happen next. I don't know what to make of young people at 21. It seems like a very young guy. Obviously, it's a celebrity, is what they're marketing. But I will tell you, I was at the Republican State Convention a couple of weeks ago in San Antonio, and he was there. And the line for people to want to take a photograph with him was very, very long. So at least from a marketing perspective, this is going to be working very well for them. And I don't know that he'll actually be doing a lot of actual, administrative work. I think he's just basically there for the celebrity of it.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly? Vivian Ho.
Well, when I first heard the name, I was thinking Brian Rottinghouse. I got it confused because the last name sounded so familiar, and I thought, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then I was like, oh, whoops, wrong person.
Oh, you were talking about Brandon Rottinghouse from
yes.
Party Politics here
yes.
on Houston Public Media.
Yes, because I hear his name more.
Oh, what? And he would have been quite a candidate to be leading that organization.
An unexpected move, certainly, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought, oh, wow, this is kind of interesting. I was like, oh, well. How about good, bad, and ugly? So good, the guy just wasn't very well educated to start with. Before the incident in Kenosha, he was working part-time as a lifeguard. So in a sense, it's kind of good. I tend to sort of disagree with the politics about, I would like to see more gun control as opposed to the organization that he is working with. So I thought, well, they've hired someone who's just not very competent, and I'm sure they're paying him a ton of money. So I'm just glad that they're wasting the money on him. And sort of, when you think, yes, he does have a lot of celebrity, and I'm sure he got a lot of signatures at a lot of autographs that he did at the Republican convention. But I think it's almost like trotting out Orbit at an Astros game. He's more of a mascot than a spokesman. So that's the good part of it. The bad part, he's not a Texan. We brought in someone to do this lobbying from Wisconsin. And when I think I have a lot of friends who are gun owners, and I respect their wishes. I think they want to. Texans love to do recreational shooting, and when they do it lawfully, I think that's terrific and that's great. And I just thought, gosh, couldn't they have gotten a spokesman who's just an outstanding marksman, someone who actually believes in sort of more safe gun ownership and control and use of guns? Ugly, all you have to say is Uvalde. This is an organization, I'm sure, that does not want any more restrictions. I would like to see more restrictions on gun ownership. This is a man, actually a teenager, who said that he respects the police and loves the police force. That's terrific. He brought an AR-15 to an event that I'm sure the police would not have wanted him to bring one to, and he killed people. He killed people with an AR-15. That is not what the use of guns should be. And we need further laws on that. So good, bad, and ugly.
One thing I do agree with you is that my personal preference always with organizations that if it's going to have the name Texas in it, then I would like to have someone who at least has been living here for a while. And so I'm sympathetic to that. I also think that you're right. I mean, he is basically the celebrity aspect. In his defense, though, I will just say a couple of things. When he was 17 and he went out there, I think most of us would agree it was a knucklehead, just a dumb kid who didn't understand what he was getting into. It was, and I do wonder where the adults were in his life that allowed him to make that decision. But having, since that time, sometimes adversity can really force a sort of growing up. I mean, there's a focusing of the mind that will happen to you when you're 3 months in jail, contemplating the fact that you may end up there for a long, long time. And when I've heard interviews of him in the last couple of years, you do hear somebody who has sobered up a little bit, like has a much more balance. So I'm just going to say that I definitely would agree that if you had talked to him at 17 when he was out there, it would have been just a dumb kid getting himself over his head. But I think that if you listen to him now, you would notice that someone who at 21 now is more sober than you would think.
Yeah, and I do believe in forgiveness and understanding. However, shame on the adults who are taking advantage of this and turning him to, I worry because it's worship, telling him you are a hero for what you did, and I think that's the wrong signal that we're sending to a young man who, we'll see what he's like in 20 or 30 years.
I'm going to agree that sometimes we do this in our society on both sides a lot, which is we find somebody who we sort of sympathize with as being attacked, and then we turn everything they do as heroic, and when it really isn't heroic. What happened was a tragedy, and I would not call anything that happened there heroic.
I want to bring up one thing, and this is not casting aspersions on either of you, but it's just an observation that we do have circumstances, we do have situations, deadly incidents involving guns where sometimes whoever fired the weapon we refer to as a knucklehead, was being an idiot, hopefully learned from his mistakes and so forth. And then there are other times when they're characterized as thugs and murderers. And it depends on point of view, but it also seems like sometimes it depends on the background of the individual.
I don't know, because I can certainly see their circumstances. I call him a knucklehead at that time because of where he put himself, not because of the defensive actions he took, but it's kind of one of those things where if you put yourself in a position where bad things are going to happen, you own that part of it. Now, what happened next, I do think that he should have been found innocent. I agreed with the verdict just watching the videos. If actually, I would say the other people that were involved were also knuckleheads because they were also being aggressive. It was just, you put up a bunch of young men in a situation like this, and these are the kinds of things that are going to happen. This is why I do think that in our society, our adults seem to be kind of not taking the steps to kind of prevent this sort of thing a little more forcefully and having just some more sober minds being in control instead of you having these wild situations. This should have never happened if on both sides you had people insisting that people behave better. So I agree, knuckleheads, thugs, whatever, but I think it depends on the circumstance. And in this case, I do it because he shouldn't have been there.
Well, yeah, and so Marco, it'd be really interesting to see if that's what he says as a spokesman, that we cannot have more encounters like that, which are so tragic. And I would gain some respect for him if he did that.
I think that's fair. I think that if we all can say what we would have done differently to avoid a situation like that, I'd be curious to hear how he responds to that as well.
Panel, Texas-based Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas has new ownership. The theater chain has been purchased by Sony Pictures. As noted in Wednesday's Hollywood Reporter, the deal puts a major Hollywood studio back in the movie theater business for the first time in more than 75 years. The move also comes within days of Alamo announcing it's closing 5 North Texas locations, reducing its number of theaters to 35. There's still an operating Alamo Drafthouse Cinema in Katy and long-delayed plans for additional Houston area locations. Sony plans to keep the chain's headquarters in Austin and its CEO in place. Sony Pictures is buying Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Vivian.
Oh, can I nerd out as an economist?
By all means.
So this was allowed because of the end of the Paramount restrictions, and so it used to be that a studio could not buy a movie theater, and economists think of this as vertical integration, and vertical integration isn't by itself bad or good. It's allowed. In healthcare, it's not good. But for movie theaters, I can understand why that restriction was ended, because now there is competition. That studios and they're competing with just the wide array of streaming we have, and so there has to be a way to sort of address this. And apparently they're not going to just show Sony Pictures. They're gonna show a wide variety of things. So I do think it's good. Because when you read through the articles, it turns out that the original owners of who started Alamo Drafthouse, the Leagues, Tim and Carrie, I think it is, they're Rice graduates. So, and they gave this their blessing. I feel bad. They probably would have liked to control everything except COVID, and so they lost their business. Although I think Tim was saying he still he stepped down earlier because he wants to do more artistic things. So as long as they continue the artistic part of this, it's actually probably a good thing, and hopefully they can continue being as wacky and crazy as they have been in the past.
All right, good, better, ugly, Mark.
I think it's good. I mean, first of all, it's always nice to have a Texas-grown business actually be successful in its own conception of entertainment. I used to walk by the Alamo Drafthouse when I used to live in Austin, and hey, that was kind of cool. The whole idea, I liked it. And then of course at that time they only showed like old classic movies, but now of course they've expanded to all sorts of things. The only thing I would say is first of all, I wonder how come Houston doesn't really have. I mean, they say, we have one in Houston in Katy. Well, that's like literally 25 miles away. That's not. I don't know why people say that. I live in Houston. Actually, it's Hockley. No, I live in Houston. There's College Station. No, that's far away. But so I don't know why that is. I mean, they'll have them in Chicago and Philadelphia, but not in Houston. Just wonder about that. But I'm good. I think it's good. And I think also the other thing, I think it's despite the adversity and all the things that have gone through, it's good to see the marketplace rescue this business because I think it's worth saving.
As someone who's in walking distance of the Alamo and Katy, I'm fine with it.
Oh, you are? Okay, because
so you're not an Houstonian then.
Yeah, I haven't been to one of you.
It should be called Katy Matters.
Work inside the loop, live outside the loop, understand all of Greater Houston better that way. Panel, there are some things so much a part of July 4th in this country that you can't really imagine an Independence Day without them. Fireworks, Sousa marches, flag waving, and Joey Chestnut bidding to win the annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. Alas, that last tradition will not occur this year. Chestnut will not be allowed to compete after flouting brand exclusivity rules of Major League Eating. Yes, that is a thing, by representing a rival plant-based hot dog. Never fear for Chestnut, though. He will take part in a hot dog eating contest streaming on Netflix next Labor Day. Competitive eater Joey Chestnut breaks the rules and now cannot compete in this year's Nathan's July 4th hot dog eating contest. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Marco.
I'm very conflicted over this. I really am, because on the one hand, I think it's unfair to him. I think they're being ridiculous. On the other hand, I find the whole thing quite repellent. I can't even watch these things. I literally, they make me want to just heave. I can't watch it. It's not even healthy. I mean, the things that happen to people's bodies, I can't even quite grasp why people would want to do this. And people can really injure themselves. But what's also interesting is that, I know they train for this to So if you don't train for it, you really shouldn't try it because you really are, taking your life into your hands. People have choked to death on eating contests. So I'm struggling with it. I'm just going to say it's bad because he should be allowed to compete. I don't understand what the issue is with this other. It's just a contest. So I don't think they're hurt by letting him compete. And I think it diminishes their competition by not having the champion there in the first place. So I think they're losing out on that. And I think it's a mistake on their part. But I just wasn't, on the other hand, I wish there wasn't a contest at all.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly, Vivian.
I could not have said it better. It's just, I find this, these eating contests like, I really just don't want to watch. And it's on Netflix. Am I going to watch it? I just don't know.
The Labor Day one will be. That's the one he's participating in. That's not the Nathan's July 4th one, though.
Okay. So yeah, I have a few months to decide. In a way, yeah, he should be allowed to compete for the votes. But then I'm kind of like, well, when we have. My son's into Formula One racing, and how would they feel if the driver sort of, races for Mercedes for one, and then, but he's going to go race for, whoever, Ferrari after. Everyone would say, abomination. So I don't know how to think of these, but, hey, he's going to be eating, I guess, plant-based hot dogs at the Labor Day one. Maybe it'll be good because there's no way he could sort of be able to stand eating as many, and so he'll sort of gobble down fewer. I don't know.
Plant-based or otherwise, here's my little quibble with all of this. As far as I'm concerned, it's not really a hot dog if there's no mustard or relish on it. And in these competitions, they're just eating plain hot dogs. Just
that's outrageous.
the hot dog in the bun.
Nobody eats it like that.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know that. So no.
In fact, I think they should alternate. In some of them, there should be sport peppers and onions. Really,
sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut. Do a sauerkraut one. And they should have to go through a variety of condiments in each hot dog. Maybe you set it up where it's a surprise and they don't know what's coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
come on now.
That's brilliant, Craig, because it means even more sponsorships, too.
That's right. Gosh, even poppy seed companies could get in on special buns every third hot dog.
What about chili dog contests?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, wouldn't want to be around for that.
You might see a little too much vertical integration. Vivian Ho is a health economist at Rice University and Baylor College of Medicine. Marco Roberts is chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum. Vivian, Marco, thank you both.
Thank you, Craig.
Happy to be here. Thanks.